Hi, it's Mark from Mark of the Cyberbeast. Today we're going to talk about delivery numbers for Q1 2025. Now, there's a lot of information I'm going to go over. I'm going to give you just the necessary information that you need from all the information that's come across in the last, say, 24 hours with all of this going on. There's a lot of good news that goes along with this. So if you hold Tesla stock, if you're just a fan of Tesla, you're going to really enjoy this episode and what has transpired. Now, the key word for this particular discussion is going to be one word: timing. Okay? Now, here we are. It's April 2nd. Okay? Two things about April 2nd. The first thing, and this is huge if you're an Elon fan, today is National Autism Awareness Day, okay? So, you got to kind of tip your hat to the man, and this is the awareness day for it, but this is also what Trump called Liberation Day, okay? This was the day where the tariffs are going into place. Now, this coincided with the Tesla delivery numbers. Was it accidental or was it intentional? I think it was a little bit of intentional. I think the April 2nd was just, it's not a coincidence, okay? Now, the key thing with the tariffs and with these delivery numbers, couple things is, remember, we had a Model Y refresh. For weeks, the factories were shut down while they retooled the assembly line for the newer version of the Model Y, okay, the Juniper. Okay, now the Juniper is getting rave reviews. They're selling a ton of them. But whenever you stop an assembly line for weeks at a time, you're gonna have a decline in numbers. So a lot of people knew the numbers were gonna go down. They just didn't know how much the numbers were gonna go down. But we have some good news, so just bear with me on this. Now, Q1 compared to Q1 of 2024, sales or deliveries were down 13%. In fact, I'm going to pull these numbers up and read them exactly to you. So production for Model 3 and Model Y, the two biggest sellers, almost 345,400 or 500, okay? The numbers will be down below. The deliveries, 323,800, let's just call it 324,000. Now, the other models, which means the S, the X, the Cybertruck, the top three higher end selling vehicles, okay, they produced a little over 17,000. They delivered almost 13,000. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that Tesla is going from the higher end sales down to more of the entry-level sales, and that's not necessarily bad, okay? Where did we lose some of these sales to? Well, we probably lost them to Lucid. They make a nice high-end car. Maybe some of the other EVs like the BMW and Mercedes EVs and some of the new GM ones, people were spending over $100,000 on a vehicle. Maybe they went to those instead. Okay, now we know there is a backlash from some people politically with Tesla, okay, but these numbers actually aren't horrible. To be down 13% when you've had a retooling isn't really that bad. Now, one thing we did notice, I should say, is Cybertruck sales, they said were down. Now, we don't have the exact numbers and breakdown of how many they sold the first quarter of 2025, but the Cybertruck was just, it had what, I think over 1 million reservations. But when it came time for people to actually pay the money, because the price went up 4 years later, prices of everything went up. So what happened was you got a lot of people who dropped off. You also had a lot of people who were buying, they reserved 3 or 4 of them because they thought they were going to use them for robo-taxis, okay? They kind of jumped the gun on that. So we aren't seeing a whole lot of sales in the Cybertruck. I don't think it's a price point. It's priced right there where all the other pickup trucks are. I just think, it's a design. You either love it or you hate it. And there are people just simply not used to that design, that look, okay, of a future looking vehicle. So you're going to have some offset on that. But the S and the X, the good news you have on that coming up this year is you're getting a refresh. Now, this has been leaked by a couple of people on X. They dropped it and then they retracted their tweet. Doesn't matter, once you tweet, people grab it. So word is out, the S and the X are getting a refresh. So yes, the assembly line will be shut down for a couple weeks, but I think the refresh now, or you get the people who are looking at the Lucid Air and some of the other higher end EVs coming back to Tesla for the newer versions of the S and X. And then, you know, the Roadster, we're really waiting on that Roadster 2 to come out. That is really going to be an amazing vehicle because you're going to see a ton of sales because that thing is going to be 0 to 60 in less than a second. You're going to have people just buying it like, look, it's a what, $250,000 car or so. If McLaren's $1 million and up, and that doesn't even go that fast, it looks really good too. But it's going to have like a 500-mile range, they said. It looks, from what I saw in the pictures, just absolutely amazing. So the Q1 numbers weren't exactly worrisome. We're going to talk about the stock price and what happened to the stock price in a minute, but I still got more excellent news to tell you. In the last week or two, it was announced that Tesla would be selling vehicles to Saudi Arabia. They're actually going to be exporting to Saudi Arabia. That is huge for numbers because, look, in Saudi Arabia, they've got plenty of oil, plenty of gas, but the reality is they like American technology. They love Elon. I believe Saudi Arabia is going to scoop up Teslas left and right, and guess which ones they're going to be buying? They're going to be buying Cybertrucks. They'll be buying Roadsters, Model S, Model X. They're not going to be buying Model 3s and Model Ys over there. They've got the money. So that news is going to be absolutely incredible. Now, before we go into what happened with the stock price, I gotta talk to you about battery storage. Battery storage is the redheaded bastard stepchild everyone overlooks, okay? But battery storage has just incredible margins in it, and it's going up like gangbusters. So I wanna give you an example. In 2023, battery storage was 14.7 gigawatt hours. That's how much they sold, 14.7 in 2023. In 2024, they sold 31.4 gigawatt hours. Okay, so they actually doubled their gigawatt hours of storage from 2023 to 2024. Q1 of 2025 was 10.4 gigawatt hours, okay? If they stay on this pace, they're gonna exceed last year's numbers by 10 gigawatt hours. Now, a lot of times the last quarter, the sales will go up because of budgetary reasons. People wanna spend that money before the end of the year. I would not be surprised if end of year battery storage wasn't at 40 gigawatt hours, but it was pushing 50 gigawatt hours, okay? And that just means more money for Tesla, okay? Doesn't matter that car sales are down 13% year over year from that quarter. When you offset that with that much of a growth in battery storage, which is just a cash producer, okay? Now, I want to talk about stock prices, okay? So when the stock market opened today, the price already had gone down on speculation, I think about $3.50. And then once the market opened, it continued to go downward. Now you had some people who had puts, okay? They were shorting the stock. They were taking profit. So Tesla stock went down a little bit. It went up, people took profits, and then it went right back down again. And it was right around the 251 and change. We'll call it 251.30 is about the bottom where it hit. But then it went up. And boy, did it go up. Now here's why it went up. Tariffs. But how far did it go up? It went from around $251 all the way up to almost $293. It went to $292.77, I believe, okay? That is, what, almost a $40 sway right there, okay? That's huge. That's a 20% change almost, 15%, 20% change. Quickly though, but it started down, it went lower, it went up. Now what happened was after the market closed, Trump was speaking, he was talking tariffs. Whenever the president talks and he talks tariffs, the market is going to overreact, okay? So I'm not worried about where Tesla is in aftermarket, okay? It went down real low, but it's coming back up, it's gonna normalize. Whenever the Fed or the president speaks, the market just, it's like a pendulum. It goes too far, too far, too far, and then it finally gets back to where it should be. The fact that Tesla went to almost 293 after it was down 13% is huge. Now, again, a lot of this is timing. April 2nd, Liberation Day, okay? Trump talked about tariffs. And a lot of these countries now said, okay, we are gonna drop your tariffs if you drop yours. So basically, people don't want to get into a war with Trump over tariffs. It's not fair. Now, I'll give you an example, because many of you don't realize we have tariffs for things we export to Canada. Canada puts tariffs on our goods, and they range in rates. Depending on what it is, it could be anywhere from 10% to 250%. I didn't misspeak. Up to 250%. Canada adds a tax on some of our goods. Dairy, cheese, things like that. So you have to understand, this is the example I use. Let's just say you're going on vacation, okay? And your neighbor's gonna dog sit your dogs. And they're gonna charge you $500 for the week to dog sit your dogs. 6 months later, your neighbor goes on vacation. They want you to dog sit their dogs, but you only charge them $200. Well, next time you go on vacation, should they be charging you $500? It's not fair if they're charging you $500 and I'm only charging them $200. What's fair is you charge the same amount of money. And the tariffs years ago were designed because we were the biggest, most robust nation there was, and we could afford to have these tariffs because people are trying to keep up with us. Well, things kind of even out, and we have a massive debt. So this is the way of evening up the score. And honestly, it really shouldn't be this way. We shouldn't have these tariffs to begin with. You shouldn't have listened to them for all these years. One of the examples I heard on the Joe Rogan podcast was there's some like 40 or 50% tariff that Kuwait has on our goods. We liberated that country. We spent millions, probably billions of dollars. We lost American lives liberating their country. And everything we send there that they buy from us is being taxed another 40%. When they sell anything to us, we don't add a 40% tariff. That's not right. And we liberated them. So really you have to look at, if things are going to get tough for a little bit until things normalize, we're just going to have to suck it up, buttercup, because this is what we need to do to protect our country and to offset the debt that we have, okay? So what's happened with the stock price is now Tesla's going to do awesome with these tariffs. Tesla is an American-made car, which means we don't get hit with tariffs. But guess what? I don't care if you're GM, Ford, Chrysler, any of these other American companies, their cars are predominantly not made in the US. They're going to be hit with tariffs. So the prices of their cars are going to go up. Tesla's car prices are not going to go up or down. They're going to stay the same, but everyone else's is going to go up. And then other vehicles like BMW, Mercedes, Volvo, whoever else is out there, their car prices are going to go up because of the tariffs when you import an automobile. So unless those countries want to play and remove or reduce their tariffs so we're even on an even playing ground, that means that all the cars being brought into this country are going to be costing people more money than a Tesla. And as you know, you get the tax credits with a Tesla. It's the safest vehicle. They're fast and fun to drive. They're the only ones with full self-driving. It's a lot of people are turning to Teslas. And I don't care what the news says about vandals and people getting scared. That's a bunch of hogwash, okay? I'm not scared. I'm mindful when I park my car at Costco's and go inside, but I'm not scared. I'm not changing my vehicle. I've got the best vehicle on the market, and I love it. I enjoy the tax credits. I enjoy the environment that I help, but I enjoy driving this thing. It's so freaking fun to drive. So, Tesla stock price, where do I see it going? It's only going up from here. If the market reacted in this way, I can't see anything but it going up. And now, especially with the robo-taxis coming out, here we are, it's early April. We're less than 2 months away from a launch of the robo-taxis there in Austin, Texas. I cannot wait. And then as soon as that really becomes solidified and safe and everyone's on board with it, we're not going to have this stupid FSD supervised. We're going to have FSD unsupervised. And that's something I absolutely cannot wait for. So looking over these numbers, I'm good with everything. I wish sales were up more. I really don't think the politics really affected it. I think it was really, it was the refresh of the Model Y. We saw Cybertruck sales, were waning ever since, it originally came out. The S and the X, they look the same as they have for the last several years. They're getting a refresh this year. No big deal. I think this year, Tesla's still looking good. I'm not sure if we're going to cross the 2 million threshold this year. But if they come out with that low price, what do they call it, the Model Q or the Model 2, I don't know what the name of it really is yet, the low priced $20,000 or so EV, that may be a game changer. I don't know. But remember, per law, Elon could only work for the government for 130 days. So just keep that in mind that, he only has a couple months left and he has to step down from Doge and go back to his daily operations. And I look forward to what Tesla has to offer. I'm happy as a stock owner. I'm happy as a Tesla vehicle owner. And I hope you guys are too. So I hope you enjoyed me talking about deliveries, what's in store, and happy National Autism Awareness Day for those of you out there who may have autism or have loved ones who have it. We're aware. Alrighty. So again, Elon, I love what you do. I love the vehicles, and everyone else out there, just do what you always do. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow.